we doing?
Obviously, everyone talks about Jadeveon Clowney, but it looks like South Carolina's also maybe got one of the best defensive tackle tandems in the league with the way those guys have produced. How good are they just overall across the front?
They're solid. I mean, without a doubt, they'll be one of the best that we've played thus far. I mean, they solid and thick inside, and the two ends are extremely active, and they can create problems. So. It's just another challenge of a week of a quality opponent, a darn good opponent in South Carolina, and that we got to be on point.
It's been an adage for a few years now that the SEC separates itself on the defensive line as much as it does anywhere else. As you've started coaching in this league, is that something that you expected it to be like that, or has it been better than you expected, or about?
It's about what I expected. There's been a few years through my experience with coaching and some of the years that I've had where we've played SEC teams, and you see them, you just didn't see them that often, and now it's just every week, so I expect it. But you watch it on film and you see how active, and I think probably more so than anything too is the depth. Whereas the first unit's out, the next rotation of guys are in, and there's not that big of a drop off, in the play. It's a tremendous conference. The skills and the speed set from the guys, linebacking core, all that is just, the Georgia game, now this one, and next week will be another. It just keep going on and on. But this is the one that's the most important is right now, and this is a tremendous defense.
Have you seen any difference in Antonio this week? I mean, it's got to be exciting to go against a Jadeveon Clowney. He's got such a big name in college football.
Yeah, I really I haven't, because I really haven't made much of it, because he also plays over Jawan as well. He will also play over James Stone as well, where they use him in a number of different areas. So, this is about us as a team. This is about us as a unit. So there hasn't been much made of that. From my standpoint, it's like I said, we've got to go out and get better as a unit. We've got to play better than we did. We've had a good bye week. We've had a good 3 days this week. So that's been the importance. And this is a team game, and it's, I know much is made of that, but I'm not getting caught up in that and not letting him. And then the biggest thing I stressed to him was, hey, you know what? I haven't avoided it, but I've said this. Hey, you know what? A good play happens, move on. A bad play happens, move on. You can't hang on to the good and bad plays and let it affect the next 3, 4, 5 plays. So let's get that out of the way right now. So, he and I have met like we normally do. It's been business as usual, and I know in his mind he's excited, and that's just about it.
Arkansas's offense was barely on the field against these guys last week. I'm just wondering, I know controlling the clock, establishing long drives is always important every game, but is it even more so this week because of the way South Carolina was able to control things?
Yeah, every given week we want to control the ball. We want to have time of possession, all those things. But in the end, it's still about scoring points, So much is being made of the NFL with some of the teams that are going faster, and they're running so many plays. Well, I keep saying, well, how many points have they scored? Because in the end, that's the bottom line. So I think it's what you're doing with those snaps that you have that matter. But yes, we definitely want to have the ball for the respect that we have for their offense and what they're capable of doing. We've got to, every possession make it count, and obviously we want to keep their offense off the field.
When you look at their defensive line, it's obviously more than Clowney. How good are their interior guys, and Quarles in particular?
Yeah, very good. I think they have good, solid size in terms of tying up double teams, which allows their linebackers to come into play. But as much being made of Clowney and outside and all, I think their inside players are really solid. And I think, they're not really, and they're probably raising their play out of not really maybe getting that much of attention that's deserving of how they play, because they're solid. And it's a good question earlier. It's going to be, we'll find out early enough Saturday, but it's to me one of the best fronts we'll see thus far.
How much in terms of the way that, I know obviously this has always been the system that you've coached, or at least with Coach Jones the past 6, 7 years, but in general, how much different is offensive line coaching in this era when you've got all these, you using the whole field laterally, going so much more up tempo. How much more does that change things as an offensive line coach?
No, I mean, you know, it does. I guess in terms of, you know, maybe the body types. You know, like years past, it's been different body types of maybe the style of offenses with huddles and with teams that just line up and try to mash the ball and, you know, really clock control with running the isolation play, the pure ground and pound game where it's for us still the running game's important, but spreading the field is important with what we can do with our screen game, with passing game, so forth. So it is a different skill set as a lineman now as it's been years ago. So I think it's still, you know, and we'll get back to the recruiting part of this, what kind of guy you're looking for, one that's able to be athletic enough.
You know, some of that stuff that goes on in this offense with the, I guess, the fly sweeps or jet sweeps or whatever it is that y'all call them when the slot receiver gets the ball. Is that something? I was talking to Coach Bajakian about that a minute ago, and he said that was something that when y'all were at Central, you had Antonio Brown and wanted to kind of give the running game some juice. Do you remember kind of going back to that and what you had to do as a coach with the O-line in that situation?
Well, really, you know, the nice thing is the ball's handed off rather quick. It's out in space, and it's really just giving it to a space player that can make plays. You know, really, there was two things to that took place when we really got to that. Was one, we were young, and we were in some areas not as strong up front, that we wanted to get the ball in space and kind of take a little bit of stress off of them. And then we kept learning and kept looking to grow with that. But then again, it gets back to defending the entire field. And then you have a guy like Alton Howard that has a big night doing that the other night, which lends you to come back to it a little bit more. Rajon Neal out in space and that type of thing. So it's just working on trying to keep defenses honest.
What have you noticed? When does Jadeveon Clowney move around? Because this is really the first year we've seen that.
You know, it's really whatever they choose to. There's nothing that's really dead set. You know, percentage of dead set formation. There's none of that. It's, you know, for the most part, you know, on the defensive right side or left as an offense, and then at times we'll watch a given playing, he's on the right now. And then there'll be a time where you go, he's over the center. So, you know, they're smart in how they use him because of the fact that you always got to account for where he's at, know where he's at, but they use him in different areas. So that's why, getting back to the Antonio question earlier, was that it's really not truly fair to say it's tiny against, you know, Clowney. It's you know, there's no time where he'll line up, but they use him wisely. And we just, you know, and again, for our approach, we've got to be aware of where he's at, but we also got to block the play. I mean, we, you know, it's, you know, we're not going to call a timeout. I mean, he's going to be lined up somewhere, and we got to step up and we got to play, and they will step up and play as they have done, South Carolina and us, and we got to work our butt off.
Is that just to show his versatility, or what is the reasoning behind it?
It's, you know, maybe in the past couple of games or what have you, they're looking to maybe attack a weakness on the offense of what they've evaluated and what they've looked at in their preparation. You know, that's, and then sometimes it's down in distance in which they'll move him around, which again, we got to be aware of where he's at on the third down of, you know, protections and that type of thing.
Thank you.
Thank you.